Welcome to this new session on social development skill among children. In our first session, we talked about the first session on the social cooperation of the child. And in this session, we are going to talk about the second component of social skill development. And this session is all about the social interaction. And since we have taken off the skill related to social skill of the child, it has got three segments. We have completed the first segment in our previous session. And in this session, we'll be talking about social interaction, which has got lot of soft skills under these, and they are total 11 in numbers. And these 11 skills will go one by one, understand that how we can improve this particular skill either in the school setup or in the home setup. But it is important for the teachers and parents to understand that particular skill so that we can work with our children to ensure that particular skill is not lagging behind. So going further, what we need to do, we need to understand these 11 skills very well. We need to understand how to assess those skills. We also need to understand what activities, what interventions we need to do so that we can improve that skill among our children. Social skills are very important from the perspective of the sensitivity period of the child. Since we have talked in details about the sensitivity age of the child in the age group of 2 years to 6 years, I'll just simply repeat it so that we can remember it and understand how important those are once we are just trying to develop those skills in our children. So between 2 to 6 years, this age is so good, it's so productive, the child becomes very sensitive to capture, to grasp all the skills we are bringing to the child. Since most of the social skills are a kind of habitual ways of responding things and also related to emotional control, so the degree of sensitivity is bit more in developing the social skills as compared to other skills like communication, language, or cognitive skills. So that's why we need to be little bit more careful while we are just working on the social skills of our child. So as I said, today we'll be discussing all the skills, all the checkpoints. They're related to social interaction, and social interaction will be discussing 8 sub skills or 8 checkpoints related to different skills that the child must the child must learn in order to make himself or herself maximum social compatible. So here, since we are also evaluating this, since we are also checking out the skill level of the child, we are also evaluating through a scoring mechanism. So all the 11 skills will be having one statement, one skill details, and each of the skill will be having 4 options to evaluate. Either that particular skill child will be never ever is doing that. In that case, we'll be assigning a score of 0. And if we find that particular skill, what we're just discussing under the social interaction skill, if the child is rarely doing that, then we'll assign a score of 1. And if the child is sometimes displaying that skill, but not rarely, definitely more than rarely, then we'll be assigning a score of 2. And if we find child is very strong in that particular skill and child always displays that skill, then we'll be assigning a score of 3. So these are the scoring mechanism, and this evaluation we can do at any point of time when the child is between 2 to 6 years of age, and that gives us a kind of direction where our child is standing and what kind of intervention either from the school or from the family that is required, so that the sensitivity edge is utilized very, very effectively. So it should not happen that our child is missing some skill and we are trying to understand that at a later stage, and it becomes difficult to ensure that the skills are achieved. So skills is very much possible, and moreover the social skills are a matter of making the child responding a habitual way. So developing the social skills is very important. Only thing is that we have to be very much aware about various skills under the social skill development. Okay, so based on this scoring method, the total scoring will discuss at end of after finishing these 11 skills in details, and we'll be discussing how to interpret the scores. But one thing we must remember at this point of time, the bigger the score, better is the outcome. Bigger is the score, meaning the social skill in terms of social interaction of our child is much better. Okay, so we'll just go each skill, and we have to see that how these skills will work. And before going there, so the mechanism of evaluation for playgroup and nursery, what we call as the pre-KG, they are combined into one group. So evaluation for these two classes or children in these two class will be separate, and all the children who are in LKG and UKG were categorized as kindergarten children. The evaluation mechanism will be bit different from them in terms of scoring. So those things you also will understand when we'll just discuss the final score. So with this, we'll just go. Number one skill under the social interaction is that the child tries to understand another child's behavior. Under social and emotional skill, we are just trying to make the child be aware about the self-emotion and self-behavior. But here, what we are just trying under the social interaction is that the child, or we are trying to bring the skill in the child so that child can understand other child's behavior. For example, if another child is crying, then the child must understand and ask why the child is crying. So there is a inquisitiveness in terms of skill building, that the child must inquire about the behavior of the other child. So that is first skill under social interaction the child must develop. Now, what we need to do in the preschool setup or at home setup, that will always make our child to be aware and make the child to get the complete understanding of the another child. If another child is crying, if another child is angry, if another child is focusing too much on the book, if another child is fighting for a game which requires turns, so those things is a learned skill. So if we are making our child understanding this particular skill, then child will learn that. So as a teacher or as parents, our only thing to inculcate skill is that at the right time we'll make the child aware about that particular thing. I'll give one example. If one child is crying in the school, it is not that the another child's role is to go and make the child stop crying, but the teacher can instruct one child saying that go and check why he is crying. So instead of teacher going there, or instead of asking one maushi or that the facilitator or the helper of the school to go and do some intervention, the teacher can ask the child to improve that skill. Let's go and I ask that child why he or she is crying. If we just do this couple of times, same thing can happen in other behavioral aspect of other children also. If some children is fighting for some toy or some game, then also the teacher can ask another child, go and ask why you are fighting. The moment we are putting up the children to ask this question, then automatically child's understanding or awareness for that is going to improve. So that's what from the learning perspective, and from the evaluation perspective, So these are 4 options that we can assign the score while we are evaluating a child at any point of the class or the curriculum development progress or progress in the school. If the child is never ever understanding others' behavior, we'll assign a score of 0. And in that case, we'll just do a lot of work with the child to make sure child understands and inquires so that social interaction increases. And accordingly, if sometimes child does, then we'll assign a score of 2. If most of the time child is really looking further to other children about their behavior and trying to understand that, then we'll be assigning a score of 3. So it is very easy from the perspective of developing this skill as well as from the perspective of evaluating this particular skill. Going further, the second skill we are trying to evaluate and inculcate under social interaction skill is that the child participates actively in various discussions. So whether it is in school or in family, social interaction requires the child should have some kind of information so that child becomes an active participation or child becomes an active participant in that particular discussion. So for that purpose, the child needs to be trained or skillful as an extrovert. So what we need to do to have this kind of skill, if you look at Adiuvaret Kids Prime methodology, we have got a module that is called STAR module. Under STAR module, first A stands for spend maximum time with the child. So when we are spending maximum time with the child, then in fact we are creating a discussion platform with the child, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many or many-to-one. So this is various kind of structures are available for discussion by taking the child into the discussion. So if the STAR module would be followed, then in fact we are increasing this particular social interaction skill in the child. Then we'll also take inputs from the parents during our monthly interaction. As we have already discussed that Adiuvaret Kids syllabus and curriculum includes every month the discussion should happen with parents based on the monthly evaluation or monthly assessment. So when we are just discussing with the parents, so this can also be taken as one of the discussion point that if the child is actively participating in any family discussion. So when the child is doing that, then social interaction skill will be very high. And once the child will grow further and the corporate life or in our maintaining a life in future, which requires a lot of social interaction, then this skill will itself be better because it has already been given a lot of importance and focus during the preschool years. So take it as very, very important skill, and child will never be introvert going further if this skill is taken care of in the preschool years. Scoring, if any point of time we can do an evaluation of this particular social interaction skill, we can assign score 0, 1, 2, 3 based on the degree or the intensity at which the child is initiating social interaction or participating in the discussion. Then going further, we'll go to the third skill under social interaction, which talks about the child asks for help from adults when needed. Again, this social interaction is dealing with making a child a little bit of extrovert, taking proactive interest to initiate interaction with others, doesn't matter what is the reason. And when there is somebody needs help, either self or somebody else, then the child is reaching out to adults if it is required to be done so, whether it is teachers in the school or family members at home or neighbors or anybody. Child's if skill is there, child will be reaching out. If the skill is not developed, then maybe child may be requiring some kind of support, but child is never ever try to reach out. So in that case, what happens, if you can just understand the current social situation, many of the children, they are having lot of anxiety, lot of depression, because they are not able to communicate, they are not able to talk forward, and not able to express themselves regarding their problem. So if this skill can be improved in the preschool years as a very important social interaction skill, then we are in fact making our child to be open and frank and come forward and talk about the problems. It's a very important skill. And what we need to do in either home setup or at school setup, we can initiate activities or role play. So when we need to ask for help, so we can create if you understand in our social or social studies or various social skill improvement process, there are also in syllabus and curriculum, we are having multiple situation when we should ask for help. So it could be somebody is not feeling well, or somebody's locked, room is closed, whatever may be the situation, this kind of situation can be created, and this can be introduced in any kind of activities or role play in the school itself. Then uh, second thing, under this particular skill, we can initiate a role play regarding how to ask for help. Even if first thing is that we understand we must reach out to help, but many children, they don't know the medium of help, how the help can be asked for. So it could be just calling out to neighbors, then calling to relatives, then pick up the phone intercom and talk to somebody. So these are various mediums how the child will be reaching out to adults when there is a requirement. So these two things can be very well done at the school environment. The same time, if it is done in the school, the family or the child back at home can have this kind of things done by facilitated by parents, so that child's reorientation and reinforcement for this particular skill will be much more. And if you understand you need to understand the child's progress in that particular skill, and the observation of the child will be needed, and therefore it has to be evaluated. Then if the child always behaves like uh, uh, reaching out to others for help, then in that case the score of 3 can be given. And if the child is very much introvert and never ever trying to reach out to adults for help, then at that case the score of 0 can be assigned in the evaluation. So the evaluation results can therefore tell us what is the current status of the child as far as this particular skill is concerned. I think this is a very doable skill, and we should keep it in mind while we are developing social interaction skill in the child. Then fourth skill under social interaction is that the child stands up for other children's right. This is a very important social interaction. And once the child is little bit social flexible, and when the child, if you look understand our first skill we talked about, child always try to understand the behavior of other child. If that skill is already improved, then this particular skill will be very easy to do. Sometimes a child understand the behavior of the others, sometimes child becomes passive, as if it doesn't matter at all regarding what the other person is facing, or the behavior of other person. The moment child stands up, meaning the child is very proactive, and the leadership qualities come through the social interaction skill. If we want our child has to be having uh, qualities of a leader, then we must inculcate those skills, and one of those skills is social interaction through standing for others. So how we are going to do, as there is already included in Adi's syllabus, child needs to be taught identify whose bag or bottle is it. So in this can be done in school. The teachers may initiate one activity, just pick up one bottle or bag, saying that whose bag is it. So child may be identifying, oh, this is the bag of so and so, this is the bottle of so and so. The moment they are saying, that means it is showing it's the object belong to that person. So whenever somebody will be fighting for something, then child must be asked, just tell me whose bag is that, or whose pencil is that. Then if they are saying, okay, this is the pencil of so and so, then who should have this, who should get it? Then child understand and the skill is built there itself. So again, this is a kind of doable skill, and this requires a lot of activities in school. And once these activities will be done in a better way, in a structured way, then it is not very difficult for the child to have this particular skill. And when we are evaluating this particular social interaction skill level of the children from 2 years to 6 years, based on their displaying of this particular skill or particular behavior, we can score from 0 to 3. The mechanism remains the same. Then going further, fifth skill we are trying to evaluate under social interaction is that the child has skills or abilities that are admired by the peers. So this is something which in the social aspiration theory of social skill, this is also mentioned very significantly, that the child, any human being, is always motivated if somebody admires them. This is true for a child, this is true for adult, this is also true for leaders also. If somebody praises us, then we become more motivated. So to have this praise from others, we must understand what is that one skill, one ability for which others praise us. So then this has to be identified by the teachers, this has to be identified by the parents, and once this is identified, that can be communicated to the child. Once that will be done, then child will always be having that particular mindset. Yes, people always praise me for that. I keep on doing this particular skill or particular ability. So once the child is repeatedly doing that particular thing, child automatically becoming a master in that. So all these things what we need to do in school is very simple, because in most of these school environment, the teachers uh, have the habit of assigning number of stars for a particular thing. Then whenever teachers are finding something and teachers are giving 5 star, let them check with the child, why did the child get 5 star for the particular skill or particular exercise that child has displayed. Or if the child has shown some good skill or good social interaction, then the teacher can give a star, just putting on the attire of the child. So then what happens? Child knows that I am being praised. I'm getting praise for my this particular skill, and child's behavior will be more towards that kind of behavior. And the same thing can be communicated to the parents during the parents meeting, in monthly meeting or any other informal occasion, so that the parents can also realize that particular skill, and whenever child is displaying that, child should the parents should praise the child for that purpose. And after that, it becomes a practice and becomes a habit of the child to keep doing that good thing, so that by keeping that in mind, others will praise. And this is a good social interaction, and child will be taking initiative to have that skill again and again. Then going further, the sixth one is talking about the child comforts other children who are upset. If you look first and third skill, they are talking about two things. Number one is that child is aware or understands the behavior of others. That means either somebody is upset, somebody is angry, somebody is crying, somebody is not feeling well. So child is having awareness for that. Third skill is talking about child is trying to do something for the child. Whether the child is really doing this or not, it's not known. But child will be showing, child is trying to do something, child is active on that. Now, this skill is talking about child is actually doing something good for the child who is really upset and who is not. So in this, what we need to do, teach the child to care the peers if they are hot or not comfortable. So as teachers, what we need to do to inculcate this particular skill is that if somebody is hot, somebody is angry, somebody is not, is crying, somebody is little uncomfort, pick up one person and say that go and make sure your friend is feeling well. Do something, give him something, or do something so that he also will be happy. And once these things will be done in the school, then rest of the children will also notice, and rest of the children will also observe that our friend is going and making that child feel comfortable. So if that is done, then again the synapse is created, and not only for the child who is being given the task of going and making that other child comfort, the skill is increasing for him, but also the skill is increasing for rest of the children in the school, because they are watching it. They are saying that if somebody is in trouble, somebody is not feeling well, it is our duty to go and make that person comfortable. So this is very much feasible, and research is also revealing that if such kind of things be displayed in front of the group of children, then every children's skill for that social interaction increases. Then take inputs from parents also in the monthly meeting, and say that if the child is really caring for others, not only caring but also displaying by doing some action, then that is also very, very important. And during evaluation, if the child is always doing this kind of behavior as a social interaction skill, assign a uh, score of 3. And if the child sometimes, rarely or never, accordingly assign the scores. It's very, very easy, but one thing is that we'll be making a kind of list of these things, never worry. So this will be available to all of you as a checklist. So any point of time when either you are evaluating or you are trying to build up into your syllabus, this will be available so that you can very much take those skills and activities related to this skill into your syllabus. Then seventh skill that we'll try to inculcate and evaluate for all the children in the preschool years is that the child invites other children to play. So this is a purely extrovert, this is the proactive initiative of the child to make the child very, very social effective. And sometimes what happens, in once we are grown up, then sometimes we do not want to proactively take anything until unless we always feel it is others' job to initiate. It is that person's job to initiate. Because this particular skill was never ever been taught to us in our childhood. If we want our child to be proactive in taking actions for anything, it could be a social problem, it could be an economic problem, it could be a household problem, anything. If we inculcate this particular skill, then social interaction through initiating some action from self will be very, very strong. So what we need to do for this particular skill to happen, we can initiate an activity that should include that each child has to create a game and others to participate in that game. So since in the school or at home, each and every child knows at least few games. So what we need to do as once in a week, what we can do is that we'll just have a gathering session. So one child should create a game, and based on that, so the child has to invite others and give the role play, and what each one of these children they have to do, the child has to initiate that. And to be make these things very easy, then you can ask how teachers they do this particular activity. You have to be teacher and do this activity. So once that kind of role play is given to the child, then child will be having those skills actually learned by doing this particular role play. Very easy. We can do as teachers in the preschool. Only thing is that we must be aware and we must be systematize this particular skill in our curriculum or in our syllabus, so that this particular skill will never be missed. So whenever we want to evaluate this, since it will be there already in the syllabus and curriculum, then it must be measured. So therefore, we have a evaluation kit, and evaluation kit, as I've already told you, will be providing you an evaluation kit for the social interaction. And this evaluation kit will be having these 4 options based on the current status of the child's behavior, as far as the proactiveness to invite other children to play or to do a particular game or activity. Okay, so going further, eighth skill under the social interaction skill, we need to inculcate uh, is about seeking or seeks comfort from an adult when hurt. So we discussed about make the child self is reaching out to adults is one skill. Second is that if somebody else is hurt, somebody else is uncomfortable, then the child herself or himself reaching out to the child to make him or her comfortable. But here the skill is that if we self are hurt, we are not comfortable, then we must seek comfort from somebody else. So that's where I was talking about keeping something within self and not expressing, that leads to a lots of depression, lots of anxiety, because we are not teaching that skill to our child, that to express whatever the child feels or thinks. So this is a social interaction skill. Child needs to be proactive in reaching out somebody else to seek comfort for self. I am not feeling well, so I need little bit of comfort. I need little bit of rest. Or somebody says that, for example, uh, if I want to sleep, you can request others, please switch off the light. So this is a great example of seeking comfort from others if we feel little bit of uncomfortable. So what we can do in school is that ensure that the child approaches the teacher when faces any difficulty. So that also we can do. We can create one activity which will having lot of hurdles. So in that case, what will happen, that the child is expected to reach out to the teachers to provide that support. And same can also happen in various other games that's happening in the school. If the children are given one slide to use, and many children are fighting, whether this child is coming out and reaching out to the teacher and explains that teacher's intervention, so that everything can go quite well. So this is also an example of social interaction, which will make the child uh, very, very active in terms of resolving the social problems. And again, we can evaluate either quarterly, monthly, or end of the program. So the way we want to evaluate, we can do that. Again, any point of time when we are evaluating, based on the child's response to that particular skill, the scores can be given as it is seen in the screen. Ninth skill we are trying to improve and measure in the child as far as social interaction skill is concerned. The child must apologize for accidental behavior that may upset others. Children, they're naughty. Children, they are hyperactive sometimes. Children, they want to play. Children, they want to use all these things well in advance. So one thing is that we are making them systematized, we are making them disciplined, but still sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes if the children, they are highly excited, then they may create accidental behavior, or they may push somebody, they may run fast so that others may get hurt. If such thing happen, then the child must apologize without being asked by somebody else to do so. So this is a very, very important and very common social interaction skill. I we must ensure that all of the children in all the preschools you are taking care of, they must learn this skill. And how we want to do this? Most of the skills they're just doing it. Make sure they say sorry for any inappropriate behavior. Either it is hurting somebody, it is making somebody unhappy, it's taking somebody's belongings. Whatever may be the situation, the child must learn to say sorry. And every time we must monitor the child is proactively saying this word sorry or not. Then take inputs from the parents, also from the monthly meeting. In household environment, if the child is often using this uh, sorry to others, if the child is creating or displaying some kind of accidental behavior, then this will help us providing a scoring method if this particular skill will be evaluated at any point of time. Then 10th skill we are just trying to check and trying to build in our child is that the child is sensitive to adults' problem. It's not like that the child is understanding, is sensitive to other child's problem, but sometimes it is also very, very important for the child to be sensitive either at home or at school related to any adults and their problems. Sometimes while the child is taught about emotions, child can also see to teacher's face if teacher is little bit of upset or not, teacher is angry or not, teacher is sad or not. Same thing can happen at home also. If parents are upset, parents are sad, parents are not feeling well. So if the child will be sensitive to that, then child's behavior will accordingly be changed. If child is sensitive, child is very much aware, the child will be uh, child's social interaction, child will go out, reach out and check out with the senior saying that what's the problem, if everything is right or not. Sometimes we feel how much does it matter to a child as far as the senior problem is concerned. If we are not allowing our child in a constructive and positive way to understand the emotion of the seniors, child will never ever understand that emotion, and child will never ever be proactive. All the skills that we have discussed so far, social interaction is a proactiveness of the child. To make the child proactive, child must be aware and child must be communicated accordingly. So to understand that, we have to inculcate that skill. And how we can do that in a school setup? Teach the child to understand various emotions of other person and be sensitive to that. So we can see that we can make a kind of role play, and we'll just make or it is a kind of guess what kind of emotion I am showing. So the teachers can show a different face and let the child understand uh, what kind of emotion currently I have. And once the child understands that, child easily recognize that, then teacher may ask that what needs to be done at that point of time. So once this exercise, once the activities are done at school, then it becomes very easy for the child to understand real situation very well, and accordingly child will take action on them. At any point of time, that parents can also be consulted if evaluation we are doing any point of time to check as far as social interaction skill is concerned, where our child is what the status of our child. Then last skill under this social interaction skill is about showing affection for other children. This is a kind of compassion. This is a kind of not being rude to others. Even if the child is angry, let that not reflected in the behavior of the child towards others. That's very, very important social interaction skill, and that's where the teachers uh, uh, quality or teachers intention or teachers uh, proactiveness to develop the skill comes actually. And the teachers, actually those teachers are really great teachers who understand that, who can inculcate such kind of social interaction skill. Inculcating this skill is not very difficult. What is difficult is that for all teachers, we must understand, we must be aware that these are the list of skills that the children must have when they are going through these preschool years. Preschool years are not basically for improving the curricular knowledge. Preschool years are basically the sensitive years, and we have to develop the skills rather than developing some of the curricular and bookish kind of knowledge among children. So if the child has to be showing affection to others, then we have to build that through role play. We have to build that by displaying cases in the school, because school is a kind of environment where these kind of things can be done by involving other children. But that doesn't happen at home. Only thing is that I am 101% sure as a teacher, if you are aware this social interaction has got a specific subskill that requires the child to be showing affection to other children, doesn't matter what the situation, then we can develop that. We can ask the child to whenever the child is deviating, we can ask the child to do that. And that's what we need to do at school, make the child aware of this, and we can make role play as always. That's where Maria Montessori's play method is talking all about that. And if we are taking up this particular thing for the evaluation, we can assign score as 0, 1, 2, 3 based on the degree at which child is showing affection to others. Now, once we complete this 11, so 11, if you want to take it in a very structured way to your syllabus, you can take it, so that you can assign every week what are the activities related to each skill can be put up as activity or role play, so that it is going automatically into your syllabus. And when you are just putting that into syllabus, then evaluation is a must for that. And as I said, the evaluation can be done in two groups. For play group and nursery, which are pre-KG, they can be evaluated under one scoring method. And those who are in LKG and UKG, they can be evaluated into one grouping of evaluation. So as we have done the evaluation for 11 skills, we discussed one by one. And whenever we are evaluating, we are assigning a particular score based on the current status of the child. Then once we add up all the scores, and we'll be getting a total score. If the total score for play group and nursery kid is 0 to 10, then we interpret this particular social interaction skill is highly ineffective. It's highly deficient among the child. And we must work dedicatedly with those children whose score is between 0 to 10. Similarly, for KG, those children who are in LKG and UKG, if the score is between 0 to 14 for these 11 checkpoints, then again that indicates those KG children, they require really dedicated time from teachers and parents, somebody who can build up those skills. If these skills are not developed, then if they are having this score, 110%, take it in writing, they will never ever be very good in their studies in future, and they will always be creating problem wherever they go. So if we want to make our child successful in curricular things, also making others happy, and wherever our child goes creates an aura, then we have to increase this particular skill. If the score is between 11 to 19 for this pre-KG group and between 15 to 22 for the KG group, then that shows the skills related to social interaction is moderate, or the child is deficit moderately, as well as for this particular social functioning. And in this case also, it is not very bad, but that requires significant efforts, the teachers, to build up those skills in the child. If the score is between 20 to 28 for the pre-KG group and 23 to 30 for the KG group, that shows the social functioning as far as social interaction skills are concerned, the child's social functioning is average. Average means there are huge scope for further improvement, and we must identify out of this 11 skill checkpoints, what are those areas where the child is missing out. If we can identify where out of this 11, where is the score 0 or 1, then we can pick up those skills and start building up that particular skill, because we know our child is missing out and our child's score is very low because of this deficient in that particular skills. Then for each child we can identify, and accordingly each child's strategies would be different to develop those skills. Then if the score is between 29 to 33 for the pre-KG children and between 31 to 33 for the KG children, that indicates your child is fantastic and socially becomes very, very effective, and the child will be highly sought after and everybody will be loving your child, and child's problem solving skill will be very high. The performance in the curricular activities going further would be 110% better than those who are having lesser scores. So here we should be happy if our child is falling into this category of high social functioning. So important thing here is, even if our child is not coming under that first category of high social functioning, and our child is falling in other category, but good news is that in this age of 2 to 6 years, which is the highly sensitivity is very high, then we can in fact build up those skills. And if our child in the lower category, then by working positively on that, we can improve the score and so also the social interaction skill of our child. It's very much doable skill. So all the social skills are doable and modifiable skills. Only thing is that we are not aware and we are not giving focus to develop those skills in our children. If we have this particular tool, our 11 checkpoints and how to improve those things, and we have also a evaluation kit, then I don't think for any teacher it will be difficult to work on them and improve those skills. So thank you so much. The second component of social development is over, and third component of social development is all about social independence. The social effectiveness will also be determined how much independence our child is displaying, so that we can predict or we can make our child very much social effective. And under this social independence skill, we have got 7 soft skills to check and to improve, and those things will help us to make a kind of decisive understanding and make the right intervention, so that the social independence skill of our child will improve to a greater extent. So thank you very much for joining Adi's group and Adi's efforts to make your efforts for other children highly effective. So thank you very much for joining this session, and we'll be looking forward to the next session, where we'll be discussing the details of social independence skills and how that can be improved in a preschool environment. Up to then, thank you so much.